Hey, this is Leslie with Comfortable Shoes Studio, and welcome to art journaling number 6, creating texture for adding gesso later. Here in this video at the start, I am just adding more texture to some pages in preparation for adding gesso. Now, I did make a mistake here. I would not necessarily recommend glue stick to glue down your collage pieces if you are going to add gesso to your page later. A much better choice is either matte medium or gel medium. Any sort of gel medium would work a lot better to adhere pieces to the page for eventual gessoing. Largely because when you add a wet medium like gesso on top of collage pieces that have been glued down with a glue sticked collage pieces tend to bubble up a little bit. And that can be fine. You can add more texture that way, and they do have a tendency to relax once the gesso has dried out and the pages have dried out. But there is a chance that your glue stick will completely lose adhesion. So that is just a thing to think about if you are going to follow this process. I would recommend using some sort of gel medium instead of a glue stick. Why gesso a page? Why build collage and then cover a lot of it up with gesso? Well, in this case, I want to draw on top of the page, and I find it a little less distracting um, if I have gesso on top of it. But I find the texture of drawing on top of collaged pages, especially when I'm using junk journaling stuff, like all of the things that I've been using, these envelope pieces, the stuff that I found at the school, all of that stuff makes for really interesting collage material, but also makes really great texture underneath an image. So these things will be somewhat visible underneath the gesso. I'm not planning on applying so much gesso you can't see the collage pieces at all. My intent is to add a thin, even coat of gesso so that the collage materials are still somewhat visible. So here I'm just continuing to add texture, adding in and visual texture too, not just physical texture. There's lots of physical texture going on here, but there's way more visual texture. There's a variety of lines, a variety of patterns. There are those C's in that blue envelope material, the black lines from the other envelope. So it's just like a lot of visual stuff going on. The words are gonna poke through. It's just kind of I'm adding some visual texture. Speaking of visual texture, you may or may not have noticed the syringe on the right hand side. That is for refilling fountain pens, or for filling the body of a fountain pen with ink, refilling cartridges with ink. It is a blunt syringe. However, I do notice that my craft knife is open, which is definitely not something I usually do. I usually make sure that those click knives are um, closed up because they can be pretty dangerous. Um, so here I'm using another medication insert, this one for Flonase because I got allergies. The paper on these, again, super, super great for creating texture. One of the things you can do is just crumple this paper and it will look smooth. You can smooth it out, put the glue stick on or matte medium on, and then as you apply it to your substrate, it will wrinkle a little bit on the areas of where you crumpled it, which I think makes a really, really interesting texture. I've done that on a board before, and it makes something that looks really great. You can also sand it down if you use a gel medium or some sort of matte medium to adhere it to the page. And then you can get some more really fantastic texture. So here I'm just going back into it. This time I'm adding the gesso. So I'm using two different types of gesso here. One is a clear gesso by Liquitex. It is very toothy. I sand it when I am done with it because it is so toothy. I will sand it, and it's great for uh, pencils and colored pencils. I like using that on top of it. The other gesso, which was also a Liquitex gesso bottle, is actually a Utrecht gesso, which is now sold under the Blick brand. It has a really nice smooth texture. It feels more like a golden gesso than Liquitex gesso. I have in the bottom of each of those bottles, I have dropped marbles. You can also use the little flat, kind of blobs, the glass blobs, inside your gesso containers. That way you can shake them pretty well. If you don't have an ultra thick gesso, you can shake it really well. So both of these have a marble. You can also drop in stainless steel nuts, and that'll give you a similar effect. So I drop marbles in there. If I see a marble on the ground, I'm picking it up so that I can do this. It helps mix the paint so much more easily. Let's see if I can speak tonight. If you have those marbles in there, you can put one or two in, and it does a great job mixing up the paint. So my gesso has marbles in it. So here you'll notice that when I put the gesso onto that blue envelope material with the C's, it lifted the ink of the C's and blurred it all over the place. I thought that was really nice. It was a nice combination with the pink. So I kind of use that to pretty good effect here. I'm spreading the blue tinted gesso all over the page. I really like that. So here I'm just flipping back and forth, and I'm going to use that envelope to add a little bit of blue to the page, cool it down a little bit. You'll also notice as I do this in this first layer that I'm avoiding certain things. I'm allowing words to show through the gesso. I am avoiding the little note that says the potential of a singles sheet of paper. I like that quote. I think we named a um, RSVP episode after that, but I'm not sure. I don't know. It was just kind of laying around on my desk, so it ended up in my art journal. So again, just one of those things. I like that there. I'm keeping it. Um, Here I'm just again using that blue to add a little bit more interest to the page, and I am working to get a very thin, even first coat on these pages. I don't want to get it too heavy. I'm trying to seal up these papers with the gesso. Um, and I'm trying to keep some things visible. That marbly envelope thing. I love marbled paper. I like that marbled composition book look. So those look a little marbly composition book to me. So I'm trying to keep that. And here I accidentally squeeze on some of the clear gesso, and you can see that it is very clear. What's the only part that's really getting obscured is where I already had some of the regular gesso on my brush, and I'm thinking as I'm brushing this on, it's like, why isn't it coating it? Why? Why isn't it covering things up? And then it dawned on me that I'd used the clear gesso instead. Um, so, yep, now I'm going in for my second coat here. And you're going to notice that it obscures things a lot more than that first coat. And it just, I'm going for a thin, even coat again, but it looks a lot heavier. It's not heavier. I sometimes I really like scraped gesso. I did not like it on this particular texture. I prefer scraped gesso on a board, I think. So I'm just, again, flipping back and forth, getting that thin, even coat on both sides of the spread, obscuring a bit more, keeping things visible. Again, like little quotes that I liked as I was building these pages, making sure those stay visible, carefully putting in my wax paper so that my sheets don't get stuck together. and I'm obscuring things a little bit more. I think in person, the glare from the lights really makes this look like it's much more obscured than it is. A lot more is visible if you see these in person than what is showing up on camera. The camera just does not do a great job. It doesn't do it justice. Maybe I should shoot some of these in 4K. And just second coat, getting a nice even second coat on here. Not much more than that. So with that, as I'm finishing up with that, I just want to thank everyone for being supportive. I know I didn't put out as many videos as I normally do over the last week, but COVID's no joke. I spent 3 days of my life sleeping it away. Not particularly happy about that. So anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me. And thanks for watching. Bye.